1 minute, 10 minutes and 1 hour. What kind of a base can we build in that time span? So hello to all the meeps and bubbles, Luma here, let's get right into it. This will be a sandbox / dev mode challenge. We are not competing with anyone, but trying to come up with an interesting base design in the aforementioned time span, if we manage to build anything at all. This is the planet that we are starting on. To get to this point, I typed in clay play to activate the dev mode inside of the main menu, chose the big Terra asteroid with the sandbox tools enabled and removed the map fog with the respective tool. The 3 starter dupes got a little bit of oxygen, food, toilets and beds so that we don't get any annoying sounds in the recording while we are building the 1 minute, 10 minute and 1 hour bases. I will use this as the starting point for each of the 3 bases, and while Arale, Lamb and Aiden are waiting, we can start the countdown for the 1 minute base in 3, 2, 1 and go. What went through my head right here was, holy heck, I can't even find the buttons. Hopefully I can at least get the outline of a base. I tried starting with a Great Hall, which would give us at least +6 morale for the lovely duplicants. A few mess tables, a room size of at least 32 being for the Great Hall or 12 for the mess hall, maybe a few doors for a second room, and a recreational building for this to count as a mess hall or Great Hall if we made it big enough, and a much needed decor item for it to count. Secondly, I tried to integrate a barracks for the dupes so they don't have to sleep on the floor, and I even used a newly skinned laboratory course for that. With around 27 seconds left, I rushed to build another room underneath, removed 1 tile in the glass so we can place a ladder down, preferably made out of plastic, thought about what I can do next, and at least got rid of all the debris on the lower floor. Then I couldn't decide what to do next and just slapped down a few hamster wheels, with the intention of maybe securing a little bit of power for the base. A battery can't hurt, and do we have enough time for the cable? Cable is being placed down. Can we manage to have at least 1 power consumer? Where's the light bulb? There it is, placed down. And the time is up. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect from this and how far we can actually get. So let's check what we managed to build here. We did manage to build a mess hall, not a great hall. We have a barracks here to the left, and even managed to place a little bit of power generation down here. We didn't manage to get a great hall because the decor value was just shy of a few points. At least the dupes seem to enjoy the short training session on the hamster wheels. Let's get right to the 10-minute version. We can start the countdown in 3, 2, 1 and go. This time I wanted to enclose a larger area in insulated tiles, giving us the option to cool everything down later on. We dug up everything that was in the middle and started with a ladder, fire pole and transit tube system. Everything made out of the best material that I could get a hold of quickly. The next 24 seconds were spent placing down the plastic floor tiles in the standard fashion of the 4 tile high rooms. Then I thought about making this a vacuum but decided against it. After deleting a little bit of carbon dioxide, I switched over to the gas dev pump, grabbed some doors and separated the rooms. Then I wanted to place down a few natural tiles, here made out of dirt, so we can make this a nature reserve, simply by placing down a few jumping cholla plants. And let's not forget the park sign. With this we do have our nature reserve in an area that the dupes always have to travel through. Then I wanted to include at least 3 luxury barracks or private bedrooms if we can manage to build them. I also switched over to giving them each individual showers instead of a common shower room. Then I made sure to include a little bit of drywall, in our case plain white background tiles, so that these luxury barracks will become private bedrooms with the help of a little bit decor. After that, time for the washroom with the toilets with a little bit less privacy, at least the dupes can poop in style. We can also prepare a few seeds for the dupes to plant later on. For the power I decided on coal energy, automatically filled by this auto sweeper, supplied with a lot of coal that I just painted in, and we can create a grid with a few heavy watt wires. Of course we also need to store this power, hence the batteries, 1 or 2 smart batteries, the hamster wheels, and why not add a little bit of automation. Different battery settings should do the trick. The hamster wheels only get activated if the power from the coal generators runs too low. Then automation activates the manual labor. What else can we add? Oh, I haven't hooked up the oxygen yet. The dev gas pump is automatically set to oxygen, so we only need to hook it up via a few pipes, add some gas outlets and maybe automate them. After that it is time for dinner, so why not place a great hall including a few recreational buildings in there as well. We do have jukeboxes and those telephone lines. As for the power, 2 transformers can push 2000 kilowatt through the wires in our base. And oh, let's not forget about the piping for the liquids. We haven't actually pumped any water to our toilets yet, and we do not have a filtration system at the moment. The remaining time is running low though, so we have to speed up a little bit. I won't be able to build a proper filtration system, so we just dump the polluted water out here. What can we do now? Let's check the rooms. Our dinner hall doesn't seem to be a mess hall nor a great hall. Seems like some decor items are missing. Let's just grab a blank canvas and a few statues and quickly place it down in the hopefully soon to be great hall. As for the painters themselves, we can give the dupes the skill for the master artworks, so they can take on the task of painting them themselves. We only have 1 minute left and I was running out of ideas what I can place in here, so I decided on a hedge ranch. A farming station, a critter drop-off and 2 critter food dispenser in combination with a few hedges are standard for a ranch. After that we only had around 30 seconds left, with which I thought maybe we can squeeze in a small kitchen setup. For that, one form of a grill is needed, as well as a fridge and the spice grinder. And in memory of the 100 dupe challenge, the microbe musher. With this we can hook it up to the power grid, quickly check if it is actually a kitchen. Yes, it is. Can we use the last few seconds for anything else? Maybe a hospital room, triage cot, we need a mess table for that, and I think it was a toilet. Just grab it, copy it over, place it down, and hospital, nice. Can we manage to hook it up to the water? Oh, we cannot. So let's check what we did manage to build here. We do have the nature reserve going all the way up here in the middle, a functioning washroom to the down right. We do have the 3 private bedrooms for each one of the dupes, a hospital room that isn't actually hooked up to the plumbing, a functioning kitchen room in the top left, a recreational area in the great hall giving +6 morale as well, and a small ranching area with hatches. We also have 3 individual shower rooms for the duplicants. The power for all of this comes from this semi-automated coal generator setup, which is supplied by an auto sweeper. As for the pee and poop of the dupe, it will just get dropped outside. And that's pretty much it for the 10-minute base. I think we can switch over to the 1 hour challenge. We can start the countdown in 3, 2, 1 and go. For the 1 hour challenge I had something different in mind because you already had seen me build simple bases 2 times, which is why I wanted to base this 3rd base on something special. In this case it will be a rocket power base setup. The rocket will supply us with power, water and if we wanted to, heat. Since the water could be used to produce oxygen, it can technically also supply us with that. So after insulating this rocket silo and painstakingly removing all the gases to create a vacuum in there, I started designing the rocket that this is all based on. A simple steam engine, a trailblazer module and a spacefarer nose cone for the dupes to live in is all that we need for this. The next step in this is coming up with a design to actually catch all that steam and use it for power and water generation. Which is why I tried to design a standard sized room here to the left where we can fit in exactly 2 steam turbines. I opened up the room to the rocket silo and placed in the piping that we need. With all of this prepared, we can just mark this design with the dev tool and copy it over several times. We stack this on top of each other to capture most of the steam that a rocket will produce. With all of these prepared and placed down, the next thing that we had to keep in mind is refilling the rocket once it started and came back from its travel, which is why we need a few gas pumps and pipes. We can just use the steam exhaust that the rocket itself is producing to refill the rocket, because it is producing more steam than it is actually using. All we have to do is just connect the hopefully made out of steel gas pumps to a gas reservoir and the steam engine. Then I spent some time fixing and preparing the piping, as well as adding another module that I forgot to place in. With all the steam stuff prepared, I thought it might be time for the actual living area for the duplicants. A rough outline made from insulation, so we may be able to cool the base later on. A quick excavation job to get rid of everything in the middle, followed up by taking a quick measurement and adding the same to the left. Rough outline, excavation, then I got rid of all the liquids and debris. Then I spent another 30 seconds to create a proper vacuum in both of the rooms and devoted the next steps to setting up the rocket properly. At least that is what I thought. We need a duplicant that can actually pilot the rocket. We can achieve that by going to the skills and giving the lovely bunny the piloting skill. Next up, someone still needs to deliver material to the trailblazer module. Let me just paint in a little bit of steel, dig it up and let Bunny transport it over to the trailblazer module. I added a bit of automation, glued it together with duct tape and just hoped that it will work. Then I made Bunny the one and only crew and pilot, waited for her to enter the spacefarer nose cone and threw in a huge amount of oxygen and food so Bunny will survive the many travels in case the trailblazer module doesn't work. Then I started the filling process of the rocket engine once. I simply used the dev gas pump set to steam for that, which will take quite a while, so we can use the time to prepare the power transfer via the heavy watt wires that I forgot to place down beforehand. Once these have been connected up and sealed off via insulation, remember the cable area is a vacuum. After that, storing the energy and cooling the whole system would be a good idea. For the power storage, 3 larger batteries and a smaller one should be enough. The room here is isolated and has no outside input, meaning no steam from the outside will come in. We will recycle the water from the steam turbines. As for the aquatuner setup, it is a standard cooling loop connected via automation cables to a liquid thermosensor. The steam turbines themselves are cooled by the radiant liquid pipes running behind them. As a temperature transfer medium, I'm using 200 kg of salt water, as can be seen when I unpause the game. Next up is checking if the engine is already filled. It is not. We are only at 19 of 150 kg of steam that the rocket can hold. Then I remembered that we probably don't want the gas pumps to run dry, since they are only cooled by the hot steam at the moment and might overheat if they are running too long, so I connected them up to a fuel atmos sensor controlled by an automation cable, set to only activate if above 500 grams. Same for the gas pumps underneath the steam engine. And since that means that there probably will be condensing water, why not place down a pump for the liquid as well. Connect it up to our already existing pipe layout, and let's not forget the power. Let me just grab this cable here and connect everything. Now it was time for the central living areas. I got rid of the insulation in the middle, aimed roughly at the center and drew a box. The intention behind this was to give the base some kind of a heart. What I mean with this is a central storage unit that transfers all the medium that we need, all the elements, to the places that they belong to. And above that I wanted to have a transport hub, which I redesigned a few times. I started with a 3-tile high room because I miscounted, saw that I couldn't connect the transit tube access point to the wall tiles, deleted everything and started anew. This time with a proper 4-tile high room, a bit of plastic tiles, the wall tiles and of course decor. Maybe a few airflow tiles for gas circulation and jumping Joya plants to get the seeds so that we can plant them in the decor flower pots. Meanwhile the rocket's engine has been filled with the steam, which means we can change the destination of the rocket to space to try it out. Let's begin the launch sequence and check it out. Switch over to the gas overlay so we can see that better, like this, and hope everything works as intended. I do think that a few things may overheat at first, but that either evens out or we fix it. At the moment we do have 210 degrees hot steam that our steam turbines should pick up soon, which they did not because we do not have power consumers or batteries connected to the power grid, which is what we can fix right now. Just connect them up around here, place down some heavy watt wires and don't forget to drop in the liquid that we need. Supplement the automation cable that I forgot and set a value for the automation to activate to above, let's say 25 degrees Celsius. Then for more realism I filled the cooling loop with polluted water instead of supercoolant. Remembering that we already had our dupe in orbit, I let them land right around here. As for my intention behind this, you can automate rockets even in the DLC without mods by having them circle to a destination back and forth and in between dropping the dupe with the Trailblazer module back to the planet. The only issue here is that I forgot to set it to round trip, which means that this needs a second try. Even though the automation is giving the rocket a signal to start, we haven't set a permanent designation for the rocket to fly to. Also, the refueling takes a bit of time. Sorry bunny, but it will take a while until I realize what I just told you guys. Back to the neglected main base. I added in another floor down here and filled in a bit of oxygen so that our bunny can breathe. Besides that, non-spoiling food can't hurt. I gave the dupes 2 plastic ladders to climb around with, checked on the cooling loop and figured out that I forgot to build batteries out of steel, which is why you see me replace them just now. Then I wasted around 1.5 minutes making the room bigger and after that drawing in the floors made out of plastic. I increased the size upwards 1 tile, re-added the ladders and poles and expanded the transit tube system. Each room gets their own output, though I do think that the room sizes are a little bit small, so let's make them bigger after we finish placing down the transit tubes, maybe to the right. Then I fixed the ladders, added some doors and now we can start with the bedrooms. I will use the fancy rocketry beds that you can see here. And yes, I do feel the rooms are too small, so let's make them bigger, adding a few walls and then removing them later on. How about something like this? I also intend for every duplicant to have their own bathroom, which you can see me implement right now. The initial water for this could come from our rocketry setup. The dupes will get a lavatory and of course a shower, maybe a little bit of decor underneath the transit tube access point. To supply the washroom with water, I connected it up to our steam turbine output water, which collects all the steam engine generated water. Not sure what to do with the dupe's pee at the moment. Let's quickly check on the rocket, still not starting. This is when I realized that I should have put this on round trip, which is the symbol right here. Then we need our trustworthy pilot again. Where's Bunny? Let's grab her. There she is and dump her right here. We may also need to refill the Trailblazer module with a proper refined metal. After we have done that, we can choose a new destination for the lovely bunny to fly to. or watch it drop to the ground. Seems like we need a new duplicant for this. Just spawn another duplicant in and give them the piloting skill. Nothing else is needed. We then set a rocket to crew only, make Bird the only crew and our pilot, and choose a destination if we haven't done that already. Bird entered the rocket and the rocket is starting automatically, dropping and burning Bunny on the launch pad. Speaking about burning, the exhausts of the rocket were too hot for our machinery to handle, which is why I tried expanding our cooling loop with radiant liquid pipes to cool the steam down a little bit. This of course was a bad idea because the thermal conductivity is just too high with these radiant liquid pipes, which is why I decided on using regular igneous rock pipes, which did work fine until I finished the challenge. I just have to replace this one tile here that I overlooked. Get rid of it, replace it, connect it up again, done. Maybe also replace all the buildings that overheated before. The transit tube access points need power, so how can I get it there? I thought about placing down a few transformer buildings, of course underneath the steam turbine so they don't overheat. This time make them out of steel hopefully, and connect them up with conductive wires and conductive wire bridges. Each conductive wire in this configuration can transport exactly 2000 watts of power. The transformer setup won't allow to draw more than that, which is why we can even hook up 3 of the transit tube access points, since they won't be recharging all at the same time. I quickly fixed some pipe priorities in the down right, and in the top left, excess water will just be dumped here to the left of the base until I know what to do with it. We can also get rid of the liquid DevGen. The rocket system seemed to work fine, but I wanted to extract a little bit more power, hence 2 more steam turbines, of course hooked up to the same liquid grid and the same cooling system. And while we're at it, why not add 2 more gas reservoirs as well? The water that we get from the steam turbines is of course really hot, breaking our buildings, meaning that we might need a dedicated cooling system just for the output water of the steam turbines, and probably a counterflow heat exchanger that we build maybe later on down in the base. But for now let's finish the new cooling loop. The aquatuner setup is the same as before, and down here we can create the counterflow heat exchanger. And yes, in hindsight I am aware that we wasted so much time on unnecessary stuff instead of building on the actual base. But for now let's fill the cooling loop with polluted water again. This giant area down here will be our heat exchanger for now, and probably the final version because I don't have time to build anything else. With around 12 minutes left, that's 2 minutes more than our middle base, I tried integrating a well decorated great hall to give the dupes at least a little bit of moral and a few nice plants to look at. As for the plants, I'm going with the Joya seeds again because they can just grow anywhere basically. I rearranged the bedrooms a little bit so we can squeeze in one more decorative item. In this case I went for the giant marble block, fitting perfectly besides the bed. Then we need a few dupes to work on them. I made all the available dupes, master artworker. Next up is maybe a water filtration system so we can reuse the toilet water, even though we don't actually have to do that. But all the cool ideas I had for the base take way too much time to integrate now, so let us at least get the standard stuff out of the way. I quickly hooked up the water sieves to power and pipes, connected them with a bridge priority to our old piping system, and then checked out our meager selection of rooms. Let's maybe design this middle part a little bit differently. Let's give this a few doors, airflow tiles and a proper floor as a roof so we can design a few more rooms on top of it. With around 6 minutes and 30 seconds left, I tried the same thing as in the middle base, making a nature reserve in the travel shaft, using the ladder and fire pole area to our advantage. After finishing the natural tiles and placing some Joya plants on top of them, I had to go back and forth with the room size so it is actually a nature reserve and not too big or too small. I wasted a whole minute thinking, and with only around 2 minutes 20 seconds left, I tried to quickly integrate an oxygen system. I would have liked to build a hydra, but there's no time for that, so algae should do the trick. Paint it in, dig it up, place an auto sweeper, have the dupes deliver it, done. To get rid of the carbon dioxide that will accumulate in the lower parts of the base, a simple carbon skimmer should do the trick and remove the carbon dioxide easily. I just created a loop with our liquid sieve. We can even change the piping and dump all the excess water just outside of the base. With just 40 seconds left, I made a new room, got rid of the dev pump, placed in a wall, and haphazardly slapped together a recreation room. One recreation building, some decor stuff. Let's go with the statues here. Yes, this seems to be a recreational room. And can we make another room? Not sure, hook it up to the power, this works. 16 seconds left, maybe another semi-functional hospital. I think we can do it. A triage cot. What do we need? A mess table and a toilet if I recall correctly. Come on game, just let me grab this, place it down. Of course the game is bugging out at the moment. The toilet, placed down, and the time is up. Did we manage to get a room though? Yeah, we did. Honestly, I am a bit disappointed. I thought we'd get way further in this 1 hour than we actually did. But let's check out what we managed to build. Our actual living area of the base isn't that big, but the rocket silo setup would theoretically be able to supply way more duplicants with water and power. And a smarter person would have managed to build a Hydra as well. We managed to create a nature reserve here in the middle, giving the dupes +6 morale, and here in the Great Hall +6 as well. As for the bedrooms, those are just luxury barracks because I forgot the background tiles, but every dupe has their own washroom. We do have a recreational room that is hooked up to the power and a hospital room that isn't hooked up to the plumbing. Our oxygen is coming from this algae setup, should have been a Hydra, and this central material delivery system has never been built. Let's zoom out a tad bit. This here is the cooling/water production system, which works perfectly fine for now, but the cooling power is not enough to actually handle a constant stream of the hot liquid that we produce. So in a real let's play you should add a few more cooling systems, like 1 or 2 aqua tuners, or just use a better coolant, like super coolant, instead of the polluted water that I'm using. Here you can see what I just talked about. Heat to the right and too much heat in our heat exchanger. This should be blue, not red. Let's compare the 1 minute, 10 minute and 1 hour base right next to each other. On the left we barely managed to place anything down. We do have 2 rooms, which is fine. In the middle we do have a proper base setup, but most of the stuff is coming from the dev mode. And on the right we do have the proper basics for a thriving base: water, energy and technically oxygen production. But the base itself is pretty underwhelming, and I didn't even manage to finish around 30% of the stuff that I had actually planned for this. But hey, now you know, this could be a fun challenge for you to try out yourself. If you want to see more challenges, check out the playlist on the left. The current let's play can be found on the right, and if you feel like it, I would be happy if you leave a like for this video. Love you guys, and Luma out.